2, 1.
I'm gonna just press record. Okay. Yeah.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Supporting Language Development, Home Language and Beyond. My name is Liz McKinney. I'm the whole school support coordinator here at the FAS.
And I'm Donna Love, and I work with the upper elementary grades.
And I'm Kathleen Watt, and I'm on the support team serving kinder through second grade students.
So we want to talk to you today about what are the benefits and the outcomes of our meeting today. So we'd like you to feel empowered and then to understand that maintaining the home language is very important for the child's development as well as the family construct. We'd like to offer you some practical and simple strategies to support language development at home. And we want you to feel connected, to feel encouraged to engage with other multilingual families and to build this supportive community here at the FIS. And also to be motivated so that families are inspired to take action, and whether it's reading more in your home language or joining a language group or trying a new strategy at home. Thank you.
So our inclusion activity today is using the word education. So at this time, even if you're at home live streaming this or watching this later, just think of how you would say the word education in either your home language or a language of your choosing.
Educación.
Perfect. Education.
So we know that language is really important. Language matters, and here's some of the reasons why language is important. We know it's a core to our identity and culture. There are so many cognitive benefits to being multilingual. The research has shown that being bilingual or multilingual just has so many benefits. And we also know that having a very strong home language or home languages helps support additional language learning. So if you have a strong foundation, you can learn faster, easier, and your vocabulary increases. And there are many academic and social benefits as well.
I'd like to add on that we used to think that having one language, if you're in Spain, you should only learn Spanish. But your language at home matters as well, and they should be learned in tandem.
That's one of the questions I think parents often ask us when they're here at school is, should we be only speaking in English at home? And that, I think, was a misconception that we're really trying to break and get parents and families talking in their home language and building that up.
So if you'll take a minute and think to yourself, how do you support your child's or your children's home language development? Just take a minute to think about that.
What kind of activities you're doing. Kathleen, is there an example that you do at home with your children?
So I speak English at home with my children, and things that we do to, things that I do to help them with their home language, a lot primarily comes through reading. And so just really simple things I can do when reading with them, and we read together every night, but maybe there's a word that comes up in the text that they may or may not know. I ask them, what do you think this word means? And we talk about it very quickly, but talk about some of those new words. Asking them questions while we're reading, what do you think is going to happen next? And all these types of comprehension questions, we do that all the time. And essentially pointing out really a lot with vocabulary when words are coming out that I know are a little more complicated, discussing it quickly, but discussing it. And research has shown that it's just a really quick conversation with some of this vocabulary is enough to keep their development going. So, yeah.
Absolutely.
And this kind of leads us into our next area of promoting language at home. And these are just a few ideas of things that you as a family can do. We're gonna role play and show you some examples of how this would work. So as you see there, we have daily reading time in your home language. Kathleen was touching on that, what she does with her family. Also the reading comprehension discussions. That is just, can you tell me what is happening? Can you explain? And we want to get away from just yes or no questions. We want them, oh, this happened, and then what happened next? So you're helping lead them through the discussion.
And also just thinking about, we have a lot of questions from parents, a lot of elementary parents especially, but, about reading at home with kids and in what language. And, we've really tried over the past few years to support and promote the idea of parents using their first language or their home language at home, because we know that developing comprehension, whether it's in Korean, Chinese, Russian, Spanish, doesn't matter, developing that skill of comprehension in any language is very beneficial. So if you're at home and you're developing your child's comprehension and vocabulary in your home language, which may not be English, that skill will transfer to English, which we can do here at school. So just rich conversations with vocabulary and critical thinking types of questions in your strongest language is the best thing you can do for your kids, because those skills will transfer.
Video calls with relatives that, thankfully we learned a lot after COVID how important it was to keep these calls going, and it gives them that chance to interact with grandparents, with aunts, with cousins, uncles, everyone, and the internet and everything makes that so much easier. Play dates, or with older kids, of course, I work a lot with older kids here at school, and so we wouldn't necessarily call them play dates, but having language buddies or giving them kind of language exchange times as well.
Sometimes with this, we recommend this sometimes with the younger kids, with elementary kids, because if you are speaking a language at home that's not the majority language here in Spain, Spanish or Catalan, if you have a language at home that is a minority here in Barcelona, this is a great way to keep that social language going, having the kids make connections with other kids in the school that may speak their language, or maybe outside the school as well. So this is a really simple but effective strategy.
Listening to music, watching movies, playing games, that even helps adults, I think, as well, in gaining new languages. Displaying cultural artifacts around your home to where you're talking about your culture, that also is part of the language. Creating bilingual household labels. We do this here at school. We have many classrooms where the students have created labels in multiple languages, not just Spanish or Catalan or English, but that helps them make the connection between the word they're hearing, usually hearing English, and then to their home language as well. So if you walk around the school in some of the classrooms, you'll see different labels, but it doesn't have to be anything fancy or over the top. They can handwrite these and stick them on there to where they just get used to seeing that word.
Different languages.
Mm-hmm. We're at one parent, one language approach. If you have families where we know here we have some students who maybe their mom speaks Catalan, but their dad speaks French, and then they're learning English here and they're learning Spanish. So where one parent only speaks to them in their language.
Right, that helps them actually to organize. So if you're a Spanish speaker, you would speak in your native Spanish. If you're the Catalan speaker, you would speak in your native Catalan. That's the ideal. Of course, eventually everybody's speaking everything, but just when we're starting, that's the ideal. Oh, this one.
Creating a family tree. Again, it helps them understand and keep relation of their culture and their family and where they're coming from, and helps them build those ideas together. Yeah, we'd love for you guys to show a few of these.
So I just brought a few things down because especially for the reading comprehension, many of you know already, or your teachers have supplied some resources on which types of questions, because as Liz said, we want to get away from the closed type questions where it's a yes, no answer. We want to ask open-ended questions to get the child to be thinking. So I mean, there are a lot of different resources. I've sent some home. So if you need some, don't hesitate to reach out and ask for some resources or Google it. An example of an open question would be something like, what did the character's choices or actions tell you about him or her? So it's also about supporting their thinking with evidence from the text, and that's at every age. That's not just for older children. Other things are, if we can create sentence stems to get them started, to when they have their opinion. I think, I believe, my opinion is, my favorite thing is. Using transition words are important as well. That, them.
And so I was.
Just to get to the games a bit, one thing, and maybe you know about this,
They can't look at that.
is using story dice, where you roll the dice and then they have to tell a story, and that could be in any language. Create a box of questions and like any kind of, anything that interests you, like, I don't know, where do you want to go on Saturday? And then they have to answer, or it could be a topic where they have to know a fact that maybe you went to, museum or something, and you could make a question. So you can make like a speaking tip